Hi and welcome to Coffs TV. Today we're talking to Louise, who has a business called the Pacific Collective. Now, rather an interesting business, and we've been having a bit of a chat. It's all about social conscience and plastics and rubbish, and you're doing some great stuff to help the environment with that. But first of all, congratulations. You won the grand prize for Coffs Startup.
Yes, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, basically I started a business called the Pacific Collective to stop waste plastic going into the ocean. I was very concerned about the amount of plastic in the ocean and the animals that it's injuring. It started from seeing a marine turtle die with ingesting lots of different types of plastics about 25 years ago. And since then I've been very concerned. So last year I started this business to find a way that we could turn waste into a resource. So that led me on the journey of building a machine called the Shrooter and developing an education program to go with it.
So how close are you to actually putting it into operation?
Very close. We're at the final stages of development, and we're working on the extrusion side of things at the moment. The shredding's been tested, and now we're doing the extrusion tests.
Look, it is a huge problem. I guess, you know, we're all walking around with water bottles and everything's kind of wrapped in plastic, and you're actually doing something really quite worthwhile. It's quite frightening how much plastic is floating around there in the ocean.
Yeah, well, there's about 8 million tonnes entering the ocean every year, and that's increasing. They recently found, over the last 10 years, they found 5 ocean gyres. The largest one is the North Pacific gyre, which is the size of plastic swirling around in a big area, the size of New South Wales.
Wow, that's absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you hoping to turn all this into?
A number of different things. Firstly, we can make extrusion, which is like cord or filament. Right. So that could be 3D printing cable, whippersnipper cord, once I test some nylon materials, possibly irrigation piping. There's a whole heap of things that we can make. It can be woven into mats, hats, different items, baskets for communities that need things like that. And so it really depends on what the community needs and what we can design around the machines. We're also looking at developing moulds, so we can do inject moulding with the plastic, so we can make small things like building items, tiles, maybe interlocking bricks, you know, even bowls, trays. There's so many different things we can make. So you're turning them into useful recycled items, really. Yeah, and things that have value.
Yeah. I can see a lot of value in what you're doing. How complicated are the steps involved?
Well, with the program I've got 6 steps. So there's a collection, sorting, designing, shredding, remoulding and selling. So each of those steps I have a number of, there's probably 6 modules within each step, and it's very specific, so it goes through different, like clean plastics and discarded plastics and how to sort of treat them. Plastics all have different mechanical and physical properties. So for example, this is polyethylene compared to polyethylene terephthalate, PET and number 2, so HDPE. This one will float, this one will sink. So different ones, different properties, and if you don't know what the properties are, then it's very hard to sort of process.
So they all have to be processed differently because they have to, that makes
so
sense.
they have to be separated, shredded separately and then melted at different temperatures.
Okay.
And some have like higher densities, some have higher compression rates, tensile strength, so yeah, lots of different physical properties as well.
There's so many different types of plastics. How do you learn about what's what? And
well, I am also running some just small workshops where I teach people how to know your plastic, called Know Your Plastics, and it teaches people about what's a safe plastic, what's not a safe plastic. For example, there's, you know, polystyrene is not such a good plastic to be using, and it is in food containers. And also, people, helping people understand how to reduce plastic, because we're such big consumers of plastic. Our consumption rate in the last 10 years has gone up 170% in Australia. Our population's gone up 23%. So everything's coming wrapped in plastic. And we've got the power as consumers to stop this. So if we sort of encourage businesses to say, no, we don't want a plastic bag, or we don't want things wrapped in plastic, that can help a lot and reduce the amount of waste out there.
So I guess I'm sort of not terribly aware of all this, apart from, try and recycle and cut down on plastics. How, apart from attending one of your workshops, what can people help to sort of cut down on the use of harmful plastics? Like, a lot of people say they've got recycled this, that and the other, but are they really? We don't really have a great recycling program worldwide. So worldwide there's about 15% of all plastics are recycled, which is quite low, when 80% can be recycled. The biggest problem is the soft plastics. These are the ones that cause the most damage in the environment. Only about 2% of the soft plastics at the moment are recycled, which is very low. That brings the whole total down. If people can start to just reduce the amount of plastic bags they're using, if you can't avoid it, you can collect them, and Coffs Paper and Oil, they do send it to recycling companies, so that's in Taormina here. Things like they're working on banning the bag at the moment. The Coffs City Council made a recent announcement saying they're supporting a ban of plastic bags. So what are they doing to support it? Are they providing?
They're writing to state and federal government about, saying they support the ban on plastic bags. They're also writing to businesses, encouraging them to transition away from plastic bags. So a number of businesses are doing that now, which is really fantastic. It's mostly sort of just being aware of what you're consuming and reusing. There's groups now called Boomerang Bags in Coffs and Woolgoolga and Bellingen and all around the area. These groups are springing up everywhere, which is bringing a lot of people together to sew recycled material, and they're giving them away to the public, so people are using them instead of plastic bags. So that's a really great initiative, and there seems to be a lot more interest at the moment. People want to do the right thing, they want to recycle, which is really fantastic. We're also running zero waste workshops where people can learn how to basically be plastic free. And July there is a movement called Plastic Free July, so people can sign up for Plastic Free July, and they endeavour to go the whole month without using plastic.
Okay,
that'd
be an interesting challenge.
That's a big challenge, but it makes you aware of how much we use when we're not thinking about it. So the idea is if we
That's really what you're about, isn't it? It's really about awareness. Trying to help people be aware of, what sort of damage this is doing to the environment. But you're going that one step forward, and you're trying to, put all this rubbish into something that's going to be quite useful for the community. So if somebody wants to find out a little bit more about you and your business?
I've got a website, thepacificcollective.com.au, or they can email me at louise@thepacificcollective.com.au. I'm happy to come and I'm planning on doing more workshops where I do demonstrations and teach people about types of plastic. And so if anybody wants to book one of them, I can cover quite a number of things for that and tailor it to their needs. And if anybody's interested, we are looking sort of for potential social responsibility investors that want to pair with community groups, because there's a number of groups wanting to buy the machines in the program, and they just need a bit of help getting that set up. So we're looking at sort of partnering groups together in different areas. So it might be Australia and Bali, or it might be Australia and Indonesia, Australia and Vanuatu, or here in Australia, or in the high schools. Industrial arts high schools are very interested.
Look, it's certainly a great initiative, and I thank you for your time today and wish you all the very best. And I'd certainly encourage anyone who's interested in assisting Louise business-wise and, you know, further developing a business that's basically helping the ecology of our local area as well as the entire world. It's kind of a bit frightening how much is out there in the environment and also harming you know, the animals who obviously can't tell the difference between that and a jellyfish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's extremely sad. But on behalf of Coffs TV, thank you very much for the fabulous work you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank you for having a bit of a chat to us today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.